Lynn walked into Prestige Motors with excitement bubbling in her chest. The showroom gleamed with polished marble floors that reflected the spotless luxury vehicles displayed like precious jewels. She had been saving for months and researching for weeks. Today was finally the day she would inquire about her dream car. Dressed in comfortable blue jeans and a simple white blouse, Lynn approached the nearest display vehicle, a sleek silver sedan with a price tag that made her heart skip. She ran her fingers lightly over the smooth surface, admiring the craftsmanship. The car represented everything she had worked so hard for in her career. "Can I help you?" a voice asked, the words polite but the tone anything but. Lynn turned to see a tall man in an expensive suit looking down at her. His name tag read, Head Sales Associate. His smile didn't reach his eyes as they scanned her casual outfit. "Yes, I'd like some information about this model," Lynn replied with a warm smile. "I'm particularly interested in the performance specs and financing options." The salesman raised an eyebrow. "This particular vehicle starts at $95,000, he said slowly, as if explaining to a child. "Perhaps I could direct you to something more suitable for your budget." Lynn felt her cheeks warm. "Actually, I've done my research. The specs are impressive and the price point works for me. I was hoping to schedule a test drive today if possible." A short laugh escaped the salesman's lips. He glanced at his colleague, who smirked in response. "A test drive requires serious buyers," he said. "We can't just let anyone take out our luxury vehicles." By now, other customers in the showroom had begun to notice the exchange. A couple in designer clothes whispered to each other while looking in Lynn's direction. The hushed judgment made the beautiful showroom suddenly feel cold and unwelcoming. "I am a serious buyer," Lynn insisted, her voice growing quieter despite her efforts to remain confident. "I'm prepared to make a down payment today if the test drive goes well." The salesman checked his watch impatiently. "Look, I have appointments with actual clients. The economy dealership down the street might have something in your price range. They're less selective about their test drives." The words hit Lynn like a physical blow. She clutched her designer handbag, ironically worth more than the salesman's monthly salary, a little tighter. The excitement that had carried her through the doors just minutes ago evaporated completely. A woman nearby whispered loudly enough for Lynn to hear, "Some people just don't know their place." Lynn took a deep breath. She could make a scene, demand to see the manager, or try to prove her worth by mentioning her position as Chief Investment Officer at Meridian Investments. She could drop hints about her husband's tech empire or the millions she managed daily. But something stopped her. Why should she have to prove herself worthy of basic respect? "Thank you for your time," Lynn said simply, dignity keeping her spine straight as she turned to leave. The salesman had already shifted his attention to the well-dressed couple, his voice suddenly warm and inviting as he offered them champagne while they browsed. Lynn pushed through the glass doors and stepped into the bright sunlight. Her eyes stung, not from tears but from anger and disappointment. As she waited for her rideshare app to find a driver, she pulled out her phone and made a quick call. "Hi, love," she said when her husband answered. "You know what? I think I'll need your help with something tomorrow." She ended the call with a small smile forming on her lips. Tomorrow would certainly be interesting. The sleek glass elevator whisked Lynn up to the 47th floor of the Meridian Tower. As the doors opened, she stepped into a world vastly different from yesterday's humiliating experience at the car dealership. "Good morning, Ms. Chen," the receptionist greeted her warmly. "The investment team is ready for your 9:30 briefing." Lynn nodded with a smile, walking past the floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a breathtaking view of the city skyline. Her corner office door displayed a simple plaque, "Lynn Chen, Chief Investment Officer." Inside, her assistant stood arranging folders for the morning meeting. "Those quarterly reports are ready for your review," her assistant said, handing over a thick folder. "And congratulations on closing the Wilson account. $200 million in new investments is incredible." Lynn set down her handbag and coffee. "Thanks. Sometimes I still can't believe where life has taken me. 20 years ago, I was working 2 jobs to put myself through business school." Her phone buzzed with a message from her husband. "Hope today goes better than yesterday. Love you." Lynn smiled. She hadn't told many people about her humble beginnings, from the small apartment she shared with 3 roommates to becoming one of the city's most powerful financial minds. She managed portfolios worth billions and had personally overseen investments that transformed struggling companies into industry leaders. The Wilson representatives were impressed by your strategy, her assistant continued. They specifically mentioned how you explained complex investment concepts in ways anyone could understand. Lynn's mind drifted back to the car salesman's condescending tone. If only he knew she'd been planning to buy not just one luxury car, but potentially start discussions about vehicle investments for all senior executives at Meridian, a deal worth millions. I need to make a quick call, Lynn said, picking up her phone. Her husband answered immediately. Hey, how are you feeling today? Better, Lynn replied. But still thinking about yesterday. That car dealership made me feel invisible simply because of how I looked. You should call the manager and tell them exactly who you are, he suggested, a protective edge to his voice. That's just it, Lynn sighed. I shouldn't have to prove my worth with my job title or bank account. Nobody should face that kind of judgment. Her husband was quiet for a moment. You're right. But what if we made a point that might actually change how they treat people? Lynn leaned back in her chair, considering. I'm listening. Remember how we were talking about surprising your team with new company cars after the Wilson deal? What if we visited Prestige Motors again together? Not to show off, but to make them understand they missed an opportunity by judging too quickly. Outside her office window, Lynn watched clouds drift between skyscrapers. Her husband's tech company had recently sold for $3.8 billion. They lived comfortably but without flashy displays of wealth, a value they both shared growing up in working-class families. It's not about revenge, she said slowly. It's about teaching a lesson about respect. Exactly, he replied. Let me pick you up for lunch tomorrow. We'll take the rolls. After ending the call, Lynn turned to her computer to review the day's market reports. The car dealership incident still stung, but now she felt something else. Determination. Tomorrow wouldn't be about flaunting wealth or status. It would be about showing that respect should be given to everyone who walks through a door, regardless of appearance. Her assistant knocked gently. The team is ready for you in the conference room. Lynn nodded, gathering her papers. As Chief Investment Officer, she planned to see value where others missed it. Tomorrow, she helped someone else learn that same lesson. The evening light painted warm shades of orange and gold across the spacious living room as Lynn slipped off her heels by the door. The smell of garlic and herbs filled the air, pulling her toward the kitchen where her husband stood stirring something on the stove. Something smells amazing, she said, setting her work bag on the counter and giving him a quick kiss on the cheek. He turned to face her, wooden spoon in hand. Thought I'd try that pasta recipe we loved at the restaurant last week. How was your day? Lynn sighed, reaching for the glass of water he poured for her. Busy, productive. But I still can't shake what happened at that car dealership yesterday. Her husband turned down the heat on the stove and leaned against the counter. The kitchen island between them was simple but elegant, much like their home. Despite having the means for something much grander, they'd chosen a place that felt like a home rather than a showcase. Want to talk about it? He asked, his expression open and concerned. Lynn took a sip of water. It wasn't just being ignored or talked down to. It was the assumption that I didn't belong there based on nothing but how I looked. She shook her head. 20 years building my career, managing billions in investments, and I can't even get the time of day because I wore jeans to a car dealership. Her husband nodded slowly. It's like people forget that respect isn't something you earn with your bank account or your clothes. Exactly, Lynn agreed. That salesman wouldn't even let me test drive the car. Said they're selective about who they let behind the wheel. And meanwhile, you make decisions every day that affect companies worth more than that entire dealership, her husband added with a slight smile. Lynn laughed softly. Life is full of ironies, but it's not funny, really. It makes me think about all the people who get treated that way and don't have the means to push back. The pasta began to boil over, and her husband quickly turned to attend to it. As he drained the noodles, steam rising around him, he spoke over his shoulder. So what's the plan for tomorrow? Do we go in with lawyers? File a complaint, buy out the dealership and fire everyone? There was a lightness in his tone, but Lynn knew he'd do any of those things if she asked. Nothing so dramatic, she replied, moving to help him plate the food. I just want to make a point. Not to show off or get revenge, but to maybe change how they see people who walk through their door. They carried their plates to the dining table, sitting across from each other as the last light of day filtered through the windows. "You know," her husband said between bites, "I'm proud of you. Most people with our resources would be planning something petty right now." Lynn twirled pasta around her fork thoughtfully. "I learned a long time ago that humiliating others doesn't fix anything. But sometimes people need to see their mistakes clearly to learn from them. So what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," Lynn said, a small smile playing at her lips, "that tomorrow you pick me up for lunch in the Rolls. We'll drop by the dealership, I'll introduce myself properly, and we'll have a straightforward conversation about customer service." Her husband raised an eyebrow. "The Rolls? I thought we agreed that car was an unnecessary splurge." "It was. But for tomorrow, it serves a purpose beyond transportation." Lynn took a sip of water. "And afterward, we can discuss that fleet purchase for the company. I'm still interested in their vehicles, just not their attitude." They finished dinner talking about other things, his latest tech project, her new investment strategy, plans for the weekend. But as they cleared the dishes together, working in comfortable synchrony, Lynn felt a sense of calm resolution. Tomorrow wouldn't be about wealth or status. It would be about something more important: dignity, respect, and the gentle reminder that both should be given freely, not earned through appearances. The morning sun gleamed off polished vehicles as a magnificent Rolls-Royce Phantom glided to a stop in front of Prestige Motors. The chauffeur, dressed in a crisp black suit, stepped out and opened the rear passenger door with practiced precision. First emerged a tall man in a tailored navy suit that spoke of quiet wealth. He adjusted his cuffs, a simple gesture that somehow commanded attention. Then he extended his hand to his wife, who gracefully stepped out onto the pavement. Lynn was transformed from yesterday's casual shopper. Her hair was styled in a sleek updo, her designer suit perfectly tailored to her frame. Diamond earrings caught the light as she turned her head, surveying the dealership with calm confidence. Unlike yesterday, there was no nervous excitement in her expression, only composed determination. The couple stood for a moment beside the Rolls-Royce, its custom midnight blue exterior drawing admiring glances from passers-by. Lynn's husband gave her hand a gentle squeeze. "Ready?" he asked quietly. Lynn nodded. "Remember, this isn't about making them feel small. It's about teaching something important." As they walked toward the entrance, heads turned. The distinctive purr of the Rolls-Royce's engine as the chauffeur moved it to a parking space had already caught attention inside. Through the glass doors, Lynn could see the same salesman from yesterday speaking with a customer. The moment Lynn and her husband entered, a hushed silence fell over the showroom. The salesman looked up, his practiced smile freezing when he recognized Lynn. Even in her elegant attire, he clearly remembered her face, the woman he'd dismissed just 24 hours earlier. A different salesperson rushed forward, hands extended in welcome. "Good morning. Welcome to Prestige Motors. How may we assist you today?" Lynn's husband spoke first. "Thank you. My wife was here yesterday. I believe she spoke with that gentleman." He gestured toward the salesman who had turned slightly pale. "Oh," the new salesperson faltered. "I see. Well, I'd be happy to help you today instead." "Actually," Lynn interrupted politely, "I'd prefer to speak with him again." Her voice was kind but firm. "And perhaps with the manager as well." The salesman from yesterday approached slowly, straightening his tie. "Yes, of course. Welcome back." His eyes darted between Lynn, her husband, and the view through the window where the Rolls-Royce sat gleaming in the sunlight. I'm sorry. I don't believe I caught your name yesterday." "That's because you didn't ask," Lynn replied evenly. "It's Lynn Chen." Recognition flickered in the salesman's eyes at the surname. The Chen Technology Group had been in business news headlines for weeks after their record-breaking company sale. "And I'm her husband," the tall man said, extending his hand. "We're interested in speaking with your manager about a potential fleet purchase for Meridian Investments. My wife is their chief investment officer." The color drained further from the salesman's face. "Fleet purchase?" Lynn nodded. "Yes. We were considering upgrading vehicles for our executive team. That's why I came in yesterday, to evaluate options before bringing it to our board." She paused. "Unfortunately, I wasn't able to even test drive the model I was interested in. By now, the dealership manager had emerged from his office, alerted by another employee about the prestigious visitors. He approached with a broad smile. "Mr. and Mrs. Chen, what an honor to have you visit our humble establishment. I'm the owner, actually. How can we be of service today?" Lin's husband stepped back slightly, yielding the conversation to his wife. This was her moment. "I was here yesterday," Lin explained calmly. "I came in to inquire about your luxury sedan, but I was told that test drives were reserved for serious buyers and that perhaps the economy dealership down the street would be more suitable." The owner's smile vanished, replaced by genuine shock as he turned to look at the salesman, who seemed to be trying to disappear into the marble floor. "I'd like to discuss two things today," Lin continued. "First, the potential fleet purchase for my company. And second, the importance of treating every customer with respect, regardless of how they're dressed or what assumptions might be made about them." The owner nodded rapidly. "Yes, of course. Please, let's discuss this in my office. I assure you, what happened yesterday does not reflect our values at all." As they walked toward the office, other customers and staff members watched in fascination. The whispers had already begun. Everyone understood what they were witnessing. A powerful lesson unfolding in real time. The owner's office was nothing like Lin had expected. Rather than flashy displays of luxury, it was tastefully decorated with framed photos of classic cars and simple, elegant furniture. The owner gestured for Lin and her husband to take seats in the plush chairs facing his desk. "Please make yourselves comfortable," he said, his confident demeanor now tinged with nervousness. "Can I offer you coffee? Water?" "Water would be fine," Lin replied politely. The owner pressed a button on his desk phone. "Please bring in 3 waters right away," he instructed before turning back to his guests. "Mrs. Chen, I cannot begin to express how deeply troubled I am by what you've described. This is absolutely not how we train our staff to treat customers." Lin's husband leaned forward slightly, yet it happened. "Yes," the owner acknowledged with a grimace, "and there's no excuse for it." An assistant entered with waters, then quickly retreated, closing the door behind her. The air in the room felt charged with tension. Lin took a small sip before speaking. "I'd like to properly introduce myself. I'm Lin Chen, Chief Investment Officer at Meridian Investments. We manage over $15 billion in assets, including, interestingly enough, a significant stake in your parent company's stock." The owner's face went completely blank for a moment as he processed this information, then flushed with understanding. "You're that Lin Chen, the one who led the Richardson Fund restructuring last year?" "Yes," Lin replied simply. "And I'm her husband," the tall man added. "My tech company was recently acquired for $3.8 billion. He stated this not as a boast, but as a simple fact, like commenting on the weather. The owner set his water glass down with a slightly trembling hand. "I see." He straightened his shoulders, clearly trying to regain composure. "Again, I'm deeply sorry for how you were treated. The salesperson in question will be disciplined immediately. In fact, I'll personally see to it that he's—" "That's not why we're here," Lin interrupted gently. "I'm not interested in seeing anyone lose their job." The owner blinked in surprise. "You're not?" "No," Lin continued. "Yesterday, I came in wearing jeans and a simple blouse. I was ignored, dismissed, and essentially told I didn't belong in your showroom." She paused. "Today, I arrive in expensive clothes, with my husband in a Rolls-Royce, and suddenly I'm worthy of the owner's attention." Her husband nodded. "The only thing that changed was our appearance and the visible symbols of wealth. But my wife was the same person both days." The owner looked genuinely uncomfortable now. "I understand, and you're absolutely right." Lin leaned forward. "This isn't just about me. I wonder how many potential customers you've lost because your staff judge them based on appearances. Not everyone with money advertises it. And more importantly, everyone deserves basic respect regardless of their purchasing power." "We were planning to discuss a fleet purchase for Meridian's executive team," her husband added. 12 vehicles to start. But more important than any sale is how your business treats people." The owner's eyes widened at the mention of 12 luxury vehicles. "Of course," he said quickly. "I completely agree with your point." This incident has revealed a serious flaw in our training program. Lynn saw an opportunity forming. She hadn't come for revenge, but for something more valuable: change. I have a proposal, she said. Rather than simply walking away, I'd like to work with you to implement a new customer service training program for your staff. One that emphasizes treating everyone with equal respect and dignity. Her husband smiled, recognizing Lynn's signature approach to problem solving. You want to help us? The owner asked, confused but clearly relieved. Yes, Lynn confirmed. And if the program is successful, Meridian will still consider the fleet purchase. I'd actually like the salesperson from yesterday to be the first to complete the new training. The owner's expression transformed from concern to cautious hope. That's incredibly generous of you, Mrs. Chen. It's not about generosity, Lynn replied. It's about creating the kind of world we want to live in. One where people aren't valued based on what they wear or what they own, but on their character and how they treat others. Outside the office window, the showroom had returned to business as usual. Customers browsed gleaming vehicles while salespeople hovered nearby. None of them knew that inside this room, something important was happening, a lesson more valuable than any car on the showroom floor. 2 weeks after their meeting in the owner's office, Lynn stood at the front of the dealership's conference room. The morning sun streamed through the windows, illuminating a space that was normally used for finalizing vehicle purchases. Today, it served a different purpose. 25 employees sat facing her, from senior salespeople to receptionists. The owner sat in the back row, nodding encouragingly. At the front, looking slightly uncomfortable in his seat, was the salesperson who had dismissed Lynn that first day. Thank you all for being here, Lynn began, her voice warm but confident. I'm not here to lecture or shame anyone. I'm here to share a perspective that might be valuable to your business and to you personally. She moved from behind the podium, preferring to speak directly to the group. 2 weeks ago, I walked into this showroom wearing jeans and a simple blouse. I was interested in purchasing your luxury sedan. Instead of being helped, I was judged based on my appearance and essentially asked to leave. The salesperson from that day stared at his hands, his discomfort visible. The next day, I returned, dressed differently and arriving in an expensive car. Suddenly, I was treated like royalty. Lynn paused, letting her words sink in. The only thing that changed was how I looked, but I was the same person both days. A few employees shifted in their seats, exchanging glances. I spent my career in investment management, Lynn continued, and the first rule of finding value is looking where others don't. The companies that succeed long-term are the ones that recognize value others miss. Lynn walked slowly along the front row, making eye contact with different staff members. In my profession, I've learned that wealth doesn't always announce itself. Some of the wealthiest people I know drive modest cars and wear simple clothes. Meanwhile, some people who seem wealthy are actually struggling to maintain appearances. The owner nodded from the back, clearly impressed with Lynn's approach. But here's what's most important, and please truly hear this, Lynn's voice softened. A person's worth isn't measured by their wealth at all. Everyone who walks through your doors deserves the same respect and attention, regardless of what they can afford to buy. The room was completely silent now, every person engaged. The customer in shabby work clothes might be a construction company owner looking to buy trucks for his entire crew. The young woman in simple clothes might be a tech entrepreneur about to close a $1 million deal. The elderly man in outdated attire might be setting up his grandchildren with their first cars. Lynn smiled warmly at the salesperson who had dismissed her. Or the woman in jeans might be looking to purchase vehicles for her entire executive team. She turned to address the entire room again. But even if they're not, even if they can only afford your most basic model or are just dreaming about a future purchase, they deserve to be treated with dignity. The owner stood up. Mrs. Chen has generously worked with us to develop a new training program for customer service. Over the next month, each of you will participate, and I'll be taking the training myself as well. Lynn nodded appreciatively. Your owner and I have agreed that this isn't about punishment, it's about growth. The training includes role-playing scenarios, discussions about unconscious bias, and strategies for providing excellent service to every customer. The salesperson who had dismissed Lynn raised his hand tentatively. Yes? Lynn acknowledged him. "I just want to say I'm sorry," he said, his voice sincere. "What I did was wrong. I've been selling cars for 15 years, and I thought I could spot a serious buyer immediately. I was arrogant, and I was wrong." Lynn smiled. "Thank you for saying that, and I appreciate your willingness to be the first to complete the new training." The owner stepped forward. "As part of our commitment to change, we're establishing a new customer service policy. Every person who enters our dealership will be greeted within 30 seconds and offered assistance, no matter what they're wearing or driving." A quiet murmur of approval rippled through the room. And the owner continued with a smile, "I'm pleased to announce that Meridian Investments has agreed to move forward with their fleet purchase, 12 vehicles to start." Applause broke out, with several employees looking at Lynn with new respect. "Success in business isn't just about making sales," Lynn concluded. "It's about building relationships based on respect. The true luxury you offer isn't just in your vehicles, it's in how you make people feel when they walk through your door." As the session ended, several employees approached Lynn to thank her. The atmosphere had transformed from tense to hopeful. This wasn't about humiliation or revenge. It was about something far more powerful, the chance to learn and grow. Outside, Lynn's husband waited by their car, not the Rolls-Royce this time, but her everyday sedan. As she joined him, he raised an eyebrow. "How did it go?" "I think they really heard me," Lynn replied with a smile. "Sometimes the most valuable lessons come from our most uncomfortable moments." 6 months had passed since Lynn's training session at Prestige Motors. The seasons had changed, leaves turning golden before falling, and now spring blossoms dotted the trees lining the city streets. On this particular morning, Lynn found herself driving past the dealership on her way to work. She hadn't planned to stop in. The fleet purchase for Meridian had been completed months ago, with 12 gleaming vehicles delivered to happy executives. The training program had been implemented, and according to the owner's emails, customer satisfaction scores had risen dramatically. Their work together was done. But something made her signal and turn into the parking lot. Maybe it was curiosity, or perhaps a desire for closure. This time, Lynn drove her personal car, not her husband's fancy Rolls-Royce, not a company vehicle, just her everyday reliable sedan. She wore a casual sweater and comfortable pants, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. As Lynn switched off the engine, she caught sight of her reflection in the rearview mirror. She looked exactly like she had that first day. No power suit, no diamond earrings, just herself. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out of the car and walked toward the entrance. The difference was immediate. The door had barely closed behind her when a young salesperson approached with a genuine smile. "Good morning. Welcome to Prestige Motors. I'm here to help if you have any questions, or you're welcome to browse at your own pace." Lynn thanked her, pleasantly surprised by the warm welcome. As she wandered among the vehicles, she noticed other changes too. Signs beside each car clearly displayed prices and key features. Comfortable seating areas were arranged throughout the showroom. A coffee station offered complimentary drinks to all visitors. "Mrs. Chen?" Lynn turned to find the salesperson who had dismissed her that first day. His face broke into a smile of recognition, but there was something different in his expression, a warmth that hadn't been there before. "I thought that was you," he said, approaching but maintaining a respectful distance. "It's good to see you again." "It's good to see you too," Lynn replied, genuinely meaning it. "How have things been?" "Different," he answered with a self-aware laugh. "Better. I completed the training program first, as you suggested. Now I actually help teach it to new staff." Lynn raised her eyebrows in surprise. "Really?" "Yes. The owner promoted me to Customer Experience Manager." He gestured around the showroom. "My job is making sure everyone who walks through that door feels valued, regardless of what they're wearing or driving." Lynn nodded appreciatively, noticing a young couple being patiently shown features of an entry-level model. The salesperson helping them was giving them the same attention as another staff member was giving to an older gentleman examining the most expensive car in the showroom. "I owe you an apology," the man continued. "A real one, not just the rushed version from that day in the conference room. You taught me the most valuable lesson of my career, and probably my life." "Which was?" Lynn asked softly. "That worth isn't about wealth, that everyone deserves respect." He shook his head slightly. I've been in sales for 15 years, and somehow I forgot the most basic thing. We're all just people trying to be seen and heard. A comfortable silence fell between them. Through the large windows, Lynn could see new signs in the parking lot. Every customer matters, painted in elegant script. We're the highest-rated dealership for customer service in the region now, he said with evident pride. Our sales are up 30%. Turns out, treating people with dignity is also good business. Lynn smiled. I'm not surprised. Would you like to see the newest model? It just arrived yesterday. His tone was professional and warm, exactly how he should have spoken to her 6 months ago. Actually, I would, Lynn replied. My sedan is getting a bit old. As they walked toward the new vehicle, Lynn noticed a framed quote on the wall she hadn't seen before. It read, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." The salesperson followed her gaze. That was the owner's idea. It's now our company motto. Lynn nodded in approval as they reached the sleek new car. Its polished surface reflected the morning light, but what Lynn found more beautiful was the transformation around her, not just in the physical space, but in the atmosphere and attitudes. As the salesperson began explaining the vehicle's features with genuine enthusiasm, Lynn realized something important. The lesson hadn't just changed the dealership, it had changed her too. She had turned a humiliating experience into an opportunity for growth, not just for herself, but for everyone involved. Later, as she signed the papers for her new car, the owner himself came out to shake her hand. "Thank you," he said simply. "You could have just left a bad review and never returned. Instead, you helped us become better." Lynn smiled. Sometimes the best way to respond to disrespect isn't with more disrespect, but with teaching. Driving away in her brand new car, one she had purchased because she was treated like any customer should be treated, with dignity and respect, Lynn felt a sense of completion. The circle that began with humiliation had ended with transformation, and that, she thought, was worth more than all the luxury cars in the world.